Happy holidays, fam! So it is citrus season in California and also dessert season. And so I've been looking to make something that is satisfying to my sweet tooth, but also low carb and takes advantage of citrus. And you've seen the lemon chiffon chia pudding that I've made, which is super delish if you haven't tried it. But my sister also has a lime tree. So today I'm gonna be making kind of like lemon bars, but with limes. And they're actually not gonna be green because truly ripe limes are actually yellow, I guess. I didn't know that, but the ones on my sister's tree are yellow. So anyway, we're gonna do a shortbread crust with a little bit of toasted coconut in it, because you put the lime in the coconut and shake it all around. And then we're gonna do a lime curd layer on top, and then we're gonna sprinkle some sugar-free erythritol powdered sugar on top. So here we go. Start with 6 tablespoons of butter melted in a bowl, and then I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of brown sugar Swerve, which is kind of like a sticky brown sugar version of Swerve, which is a sugar alternative. I like using all different sugar alternatives, and I just kind of like the toastiness that the brown Swerve gives this. Tried using brown Swerve in like chocolate chip cookies, and oh, it's just not quite the same. So I'm still experimenting with chocolate chip cookies. But go ahead and dissolve that Swerve, break up all the lumps and make sure that it's like relatively smooth. And then you're gonna add 1.5 cups of blanched fine almond flour. And if you don't like coconut, or you're allergic to coconut, or you don't have to use toasted coconut, you can just use another 1/2 cup of almond flour instead. So it's gonna look like that. Add in your 1/2 cup of toasted unsweetened coconut. If you wanna toast, you don't have to toast the coconut, but I like the way that it tastes when it is toasted. I just sort of put it in my toaster oven at like 250 for like 5 minutes, just until it's a light golden brown. Make sure you get unsweetened coconut. And then I use a spatula to kind of mix it all in. The whisk is helpful in the beginning. Make sure it kind of gets really blended in there. If you want, you can even put a pinch of powdered ginger. You want it to have like a ginger snappy flavor, but I'm cool with just a little toasted coconut. So this is gonna be your shortbread crust. Get yourself a little pan. You can use an 8x8 pan if you're not making this in a toaster oven like me. And then just use your fingers to kind of press it into the pan. If you can get it thin and up the sides, that's even better. Then you kind of can fight for the corner pieces. But if you want to just press it flat, that's fine too. This makes a pretty thick crust. It's kind of like 50-50 crust and lemon bar. So I like the crust to taste good since you're getting half of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of get it even in there. You can also do this in a round like tart pan if you like, but I like the bars. So it's gonna look like that. And as soon as your toaster oven is ready, pop it in there for like 9 or 10 minutes. And then while that's cooking, we're gonna make the filling. So now we're ready to make our filling for our lime bars. In this pot on low heat, I have a 1/3 cup of butter, unsalted butter. And to this, we're gonna add a 1/2 cup of erythritol sweetener. This is a mixture of like some white Swerve that I had left over, and then some King Arthur sugar alternative. But you can pretty much use any erythritol, you know, baker-friendly sweetener that's like granulated. I like the granulated for this recipe instead of the powdered, because we're going to put a little powdered on top, and it just melts a little bit better. It dissolves a little better. So add that on in. Dissolve it into the butter. And you just want to stir this until it kind of like melts into itself. It's going to look a little clumpy at first. And then to this, we're going to add a 1/2 cup of freshly squeezed lime juice. If you don't like limes, or you don't have limes, or they're too expensive, you can substitute lemon for all of this. It's totally delicious either way. This smells so good. You can also use 1/2 lime and 1/2 lemon. And then to this, I want to add a teaspoon of fresh grated and diced zest. It looks about like that. It's yellow instead of green because the limes were from my sister's tree and they were perfectly ripe. You can add more zest if you like it super, super zesty, but I find that the zest you can get out of the lemons that you can get that much juice out of is totally fine. So whisk that together. And then now you see the sugar is completely dissolved. So at this point, you want to turn the heat to way, way low. And then you're going to add room temperature eggs and egg yolks. 2 eggs and 3 egg yolks. It's really important that they are room temperature because you don't want to stir cold eggs into a hot, hot liquid. And when you add these, you want to just continually whisk. Because if you don't, the eggs are going to curdle, and then it's going to be like lemon scrambled eggs. This always makes me a little bit nervous. But as long as you keep stirring, it's usually fine. And you're going to cook this on low heat. Keep whisking until it thickens. And you can tell because right now it has the consistency of like orange juice. And then when the custard properly thickens, it almost has the consistency of like whole milk or heavy cream. You'll know the difference, but just make sure that your heat is on low so that you don't end up with scrambled lemon eggs. We've got 20 seconds left on our crust. When you do this right, you can time it so that the eggs sometimes take like 5 minutes to thicken. But when you do this right, woo, our crust is golden. So keep stirring. So that's our crust. You can tell it's like a little golden on top. That was cooked for 9 minutes. It smells delicious. That toasted coconut is just so good. So this might take a minute. I'm gonna keep stirring this and I'll be back in 2 shakes. Okay, so our lime curd is hecka thick. It is, you can tell the difference. It's like a chemical reaction. And I just stir this for about 8 minutes to make it happen. So once it's done, give it a little whisk, and then you're gonna strain it. I have this little jury rig action right here. Through a strainer. This is to get out any little bits of scrambled eggs. Hopefully if you were stirring and you kept it on low heat instead of getting impatient, most of it is super, super smooth. But you do want to strain it. You don't want to skip this part. Yeah, most of the stuff that's left in here is like little bits of scrambled egg white, which you don't want in your custard. So once you strain it, you're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. I like vanilla in anything with citrus. A teaspoon of vanilla. Give that a little whisk. And then a half a teaspoon of xanthan gum. Or it might be a teaspoon and a half. Hang on. Half a teaspoon of xanthan gum. I add this because it gives it a little thickness. You can get Bob's Red Mill. Just kind of sprinkle it over the top and then whisk it in. It just gives it like a little gummy jelliness. That's nice. And then you're also going to add two tablespoons of collagen powder. Now, I use Vital Proteins collagen peptides. It's unflavored. You can't taste it when you mix it into these. You want to go crazy and try like vanilla, it's fine, but honestly, I like to just let the citrus shine through. And again, this does the same kind of thing. It gives the curd a little bit of body, and it adds extra protein, which is great. So take this, pour it into our semi-cooled crust. That was loud, sorry. And it's gonna look like that. And then you're gonna bake these at 350 degrees for 15 minutes. Check it after 12. They continue cooking while they're in the pot. Just make sure the crust isn't getting burned and that the top should kind of be light and fluffy, and I'll show you when I take it out. Alrighty, so our lemon bars are all baked and they're cooled. You can tell when you first pull them out of the oven, they have the consistency of like maybe like a firm yogurt. So that's how you know they're done. They're not runny. And what I like to do is get a little bit of powdered erythritol and just kind of shake it over the top. Like that. And then you cut these into bars. You can chill them in the fridge if you want to cool them down a little bit, but these have been cooling for a little while, so they're ready to be cut into bars. And those are, well, actually lime bars, not lemon bars, but enjoy.